poppin', everybody? It's your boy Armon, and we're back with another video. If you're a return subscriber, then you know how this thing goes. And if you're a new subscriber, well, welcome and hello. All right, so we got to get into some things. My guy, Joe Budden, it's not looking good for him, okay? When it rains, it pours, all right? So I'm going to let you know this. This video is not a shit on Joe Budden video by far. I like Joe Budden. I think he's super talented. I think he's super dope. I love his sense of style and fashion. I even love the fact that his take on fashion is very much so this idea that he doesn't really know what he's doing. He just kind of throws it on, but it's very calculated. You know, I think that that's dope because he's secretly coming for a fashion spot as well as a personality spot, you know? So I think that that's dope. Also, I see a lot of myself in Joe. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna just keep it real with y'all. You know, a lot of his antics, a lot of the ability to burn shit down, a lot of, you know, maybe even some narcissistic qualities and self-absorbed arrogance, you know? But I feel like you have to have a piece of those things in order to be successful. So I'm not going to sit here and say that all of those qualities that Joe Budden have are negative qualities or are bad qualities, because they're not. And to be honest with you, many entertainers and people of power and position have those qualities. The issue comes in, though, with Joe. I feel like he preached so much about how, you know, the industry will do you dirty as a creator and as an entertainer and how things should change. And to come on and do a podcast and drag Rory and Ma in that way and kind of literally belittle them for wanting to see the books and wanting some sort of ownership within the brand, even though he's preached ownership, is a little confusing to me, you know? I think Joe Budden had one job, and that was to show the creators that we can band together and we can create and we can do this without being dirty. And I feel like he actually went against everything that he stood for or he preached about, you know? He had that one job of, you know, proving that he could not self-destruct himself. That's the thing. Maybe that's now two jobs, but you get what I'm saying. So many people feel like, you know what, Joe Budden's going to burn a bridge. Joe Budden's not going to last. You know, if any job was more important, it was the fact that you were not going to burn down any more bridges. You were going to show that you were going to create a space for creators that was a safe space, a healthy space for creators to monetize, make money, grow their platforms, their brands. And you were going to do all of this while building healthy, successful relationships and not burning any more bridges. That didn't happen. So then we fast forward. Joe, you fall out with Rory and Ma. Then you go on this rampage and start exposing them and say, basically, they are employees. So have the whole world thinking that they had no idea what they were doing and they were employees for you. And that wasn't the reality. So then Rory and Ma, they come out and they do a podcast and they say, no, we were not employees. We were percentage partner holders. Basically saying whatever that podcast made, we made a percentage off of that podcast. Joe Budden didn't say that. Then Joe Budden went on live on his Instagram live and tried to deflect and refute that and say, well, that's not it. They get a percentage off the net of the podcast. To me, that's the same thing. They are percentage holders. So which would make sense as to why they would want to see the books, because they get paid off a percentage, not a salary. So if the podcast is doing 2 times the numbers as it was doing last year or last month or whenever, they need 2 times or they need a raise of some sort, you know? And I'm with them. I totally agree. And I think for that, there should be quarterly book checks, especially because they're percentage partners. I would listen to that podcast and I seen, Ma, he wasn't having it. He was pissed at Joe Budden tried to make him look like he was kind of like a broke, lonely guy, you know, and honestly, I believe Rory and Ma. I believe that Joe Budden had got a very nasty temper. I believe Joe Budden was being very shady. I believe Joe Budden was being very narcissistic in this moment. They also talked about how there was a $400,000 discrepancy that nobody knows where that money went. So all these things are now coming to the light because we're hearing it from another side. And Joe Budden said nothing about this. So now I'm side-eyeing him like, damn, Joe, so you screwed over your boys? And then you went online and you tried to make it like they were just some imbeciles that didn't understand the politics and contracts and business, when really they really did understand it. You just got greedy because you seen that the podcast was making more money than you ever probably anticipated. So at that point, you started looking at them and started feeling like they're not as valuable as they may think that they are. And you started feeling like, well, you are the draw for the crowd. So then all of a sudden you feel like you should be paid more money, almost to where you cut them out of the deal and rehire them as employees so that you can put them on a salary. And they didn't want to do that because they're not dumb, because they realize the podcast is growing and they realize that they are percentage holders in the podcast. So the more that the podcast grows, the more that they get paid. And you didn't want to do that because the podcast is growing. It is getting, the bag is getting bigger. The money is getting bigger, but you want the money for yourself because you feel like I'm Joe Budden. So you started getting selfish, Joe. You start getting selfish. And this is where I cannot rock with you, because it feels like, Joe, you got to a point where you got greedy, you got the big head, you got the narcissistic head, and it wasn't the healthy narcissistic. It was more of like a, I'm on now and I don't need you niggas. Like, it was like, wow, this is the money, this is the opportunity. Let's get these niggas out here, because they really not doing, they not really that hot like that. I feel like the money came, the power started growing, and then you started nitpicking at their value. Oh, Maul is always late. He don't really talk that much. He don't really add nothing to this. And Rory, he just kind of like, yeah, without me, no one would have known these guys. So this is all about me. I probably should switch this up because they're getting too much money. It's growing too much. They're getting too much money. And I don't feel like they're doing enough to get paid this money. And I feel like I'm Joe Budden. I'm the celebrity. I need to get all of this money, and I'll just hire these guys onto my network. And they were smart enough to say, nigga, no. Not happening. That's not what we agreed to. That's not what we signed up for. And that honestly is the issue. And then they wanted to start seeing the books. You didn't want to show them the books because they know that they know if they seen the books, they would be owed more money, Joe. That is just what it is. Joe, you got greedy. And you've been getting greedy and you've been feeling yourself, Joe. Then we fast forward to Olivia Dope coming out, speaking out. A lot of people don't believe her. I mean, I believe her, especially since now Joe has issued an apology to Rolling Stone. He basically said, he didn't handle things right with Olivia Dope. He apologized. It was distasteful. And, he apologized on behalf of himself, and he apologized on behalf of the network, which was the adult thing to do. I mean, you didn't really have a choice. You don't want to play with sexual allegations, not in 2021. So I'm glad you did that. But at the same time, Joe, it goes to show that you were really feeling yourself, and and especially with these women. I don't understand. Knowing that you have a history with women, you cannot do that, especially a person that is a public figure and leading in an industry of commentary and slightly exploiting and gossip and all of these things, because at any day and time you can become the content. And if you want to be honest, people are waiting for a moment to use you for a come up. Now, a lot of people are like, well, the timing for Olivia Dope wasn't right. You know what I mean? She's looking for clout, this, that, and the third. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not for me to say whether she was looking for clout or not, but I'm not going to sit here and act as if that wasn't a strategic timing. Perhaps maybe she did choose now to say something, but I mean, I feel like it was only right. I mean, if you're going to make something shake and kick the nigga while he down, you might as well kick him good. You know what I mean? While all eyes are on Joe Budden, this is the way that you get him back. So she probably was being smart, like, wow, this is the moment that I could actually, come out and speak out too. He's got all this negative press. Let me add to it. I mean, why does she have to think? I don't know. I just feel like I understand why she probably said it now. It probably helped put more eyes on it than it would be at. It's more eyes on it, more eyes and ears paying attention now than they would have probably paid attention then. It probably would have got some news, some press, but I don't think people would have cared as much. People are dragging it now because he's got all this other drama going on. So to me, it was a little strategy. And, it worked for her because she wanted to make Joe feel it because he made her feel away. And she got her apology. But I say all this to say is, Joe, not only that, then you have your counterparts. You have your Charlemagne's and your DJ Envies and, the Breakfast Club. Now they're not really going hard on you. But at the same time, they don't really fool with you. And they're happy to say, I told you Joe was going to fail. I told you Joe was going to be trash. Told you Joe was not going to happen. Everybody is saying, I told you, Joe, this is not going to work. And honestly, I feel bad because I see a lot of Joe in me as far as being flirty, being flirtatious, like I said, being a little arrogant, having a strong personality, but you got to know when to dial it back, Joe. You got to know when to dial it back. And I just feel like you didn't do it right. You let the money, the power, and the fame, the new fame get to you. You know what I mean? And so it started magnifying who you really were. So some of the things that you didn't work on, because you got to work on yourself. You got to have a humble spirit somewhere, or the universe has an interesting way of humbling you. And I just feel like Joe Budden is going through a humbling phase because now gone are the days where everybody's feeling bad for you. Now people are going to start feeling like, you know what? Joe Budden is kind of trash. He did his boys dirty and he's a predator. You need allies, Joe. So I don't know who's making you feel like you don't need any allies, but you need allies, and you can be canceled. Yes, you can have money, you can have all of these things, but don't ever feel like you're too good or too big to be completely canceled, because if people feel like you're going to just continue to burn bridges and you're a predator, it's over, Joe. It's over. So don't ever feel yourself too much. There's not enough Balenciaga, Fendi, Amiri, Versace, Bottega Veneta in the world that can save you from allegation charges and credibility, in the street when everybody's just like, you know what, he's trash. We don't want to work with him. He burns all his bridges and then he steals money from his people. Who wants to work with you? You have a long track record of burning all the bridges. And, for a while, a lot of people would feel bad for Joe. Like, you know what? I stand with Joe. He's a good guy. He's dope. He's this, he's that. But when you messed up is when you burnt Rory and Mal, because it's like those were the only guys that was really kind of standing by you in the industry, and they were lifting you up. And now they're coming out, speaking out, saying that you're doing bad business with them. And then we can see that you're clearly hiding the books from them because you don't want to pay them what they're owed. It's kind of like, we got to side eye you, Joe. And deep down, I know that you did wrong by that. You didn't do right by them. And I'm not even here to bash Joe. Like I said, I like Joe, but he did not do that right. He didn't do that right. And I don't think that he has too many more chances before people write Joe Budden off like, all right, he's just a liability. He's trash. I mean, you'll have some people that'll stick with you, but you don't want to have too many abuse allegations against you, and then you're doing bad business. It's like, who's going to want to work with you? Who's going to want to be affiliated with you? And we know that you like these sponsors and these brand deals and things like that. Listen, you get too many allegations against you, they will pull. Patreon's not going to want to be affiliated with that publicly. Cash App is not going to want to be affiliated with that publicly. That's too much ill press. You know this, Joe. So I don't know. I just hope that you get it together and you humble yourself a little bit, because it just feels like, Joe Budden got the big head and he forgot what his one job was. And his one job was to be there for the creator, the independent creator. That's what he preached. And that independent creator money came in, and then he messed over his boys and didn't want to build them. It was all about building himself. Because if it was truly about the creator, you would have allowed them to build up under you. You wouldn't have tried to stifle their growth or shut them out of it, and then try to make them appear as if they were some useless employees that were just so disposable because this was all you. When we know this was not all you. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm I'm a little disappointed in Joe. It'd be interesting to see how he bounces back. Let me know. Are you guys still watching Joe Budden? Is he canceled? And yeah. So like, share, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I want you guys to be smooth. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.